Welcome back to the Healing Chamber podcast. This is Layla, and today we are discussing root chakra mastery, which is one of my favorite topic. So 2024, by the way, is the year connected to Saturn, because when you add up all the numbers, it equals to 8, and 8 is the number connected to the planet Saturn. And so Saturn is also associated with the root chakra, which is why, as a collective, we're going through, of course, this destruction of these old beliefs, and that's why there's a lot of chaos right now on the planet. But we're also going through an expansion of consciousness, which is why there is a lot of things and lies and people that are getting exposed, because this needs to be basically destroyed in order to build a stronger foundation. So the root chakra, Saturn, is all about foundation, structure, law, the military, the police, right? And so originally, society has been based on Saturnian principles, and that's why there's a lot of Saturnian symbolism within the government when it comes to the colors, for example. So we see the navy, the red as well. But in general, when you go to a government building, you see a lot of navy blue. So this is the color of Saturn. Saturn is a planet that's very rigid, I would say. It's about tough love. Saturn is about tough love, limitations as well. It really triggers childhood wounds a lot of times, because it reminds us all the times when we were little where we had barely any control over our life circumstances, or where we were located, or what we were going through, basically. You know, as a kid, a lot of people have had these moments of powerlessness. And so Saturn is really here to trigger these wounds, but it's still love. It wants you to succeed. It wants you to be more powerful. It wants you to become a woman, a goddess. But of course, when people don't know that, they don't know how to work with Saturn. So 2024 is an amazing year to build a strong foundation for ourselves when it comes to our finances, specifically when it comes to getting educated in general about the law and just finances, anything that's very an advantage to us, basically. So when it comes to working with Saturn, it's all about self-discipline, self-love, karma, right? So action. Karma means action, by the way. A lot of people think karma means negative, but no, it means that you reap what you sow. So if you give out a lot of negative energy and you focus on the negative and you focus on hurting other people all the time, then of course this is what's going to be reflected back into your life. So how do we work with Saturn now? So here are a few practical steps to really integrate the Saturnian teachings. This is very good if we are, of course, struggling with any financial situation, instability, right? If we're dealing with having an unstable home, unstable life, right? So not necessarily money. Like, you can also have money and struggle with your root chakra. This would usually look like, so for example, you have a lot of wealth, or you've been successful, you have a few millions, here and there, but you always have this fear, right, of people coming to get you. Or for men, sometimes it's like they have this fear of like women coming to get their money. Or sometimes it can be a fear of like the IRS, like chasing you down, trying to like, make you pay. So it really depends on our life circumstances, but the root chakra does not discriminate anybody. Like, everybody has one, everybody has to go through it at some point, but obviously it's going to look different depending on our upbringing, basically, our family history and lineage as well. If we want to remove any generational curse about, addictions and instability and poverty consciousness, we really have to start with the root chakra. Everybody has to start with the root chakra. It's the basis of life, right? So one of the first things to do is, of course, to be more rational. So especially if you're a woman that's just very sensitive, very emotional, you're an empath or healer, however you want to label yourself, a lot of times when we are controlled and owned by our emotions, we tend to make very impulsive decisions in life, and of course we always end up paying the price later on. We might get called crazy or unstable. So the first thing to do is to really get back into the more rational aspect, the more conscious aspect of the brain. And by, first of all, so one of the ways to do that is by having a journal. So having a journal to really document your goals, your progress, your reflections. You're basically reparenting yourself when you're doing that, because you're giving yourself a structure, right? Especially if you have a lot of dark femininity, like this is a must, or else you're going to self-sabotage or self-destruct, because you're just going to be like a storm, right? Which is fine sometimes to be a storm, but you cannot, like, it's just like nature. You cannot have storms every single day of the year, or else the planet would just destroy itself, basically. So it's the same type of, concept behind this. So tracking your growth, having a list of goals. This is also something that I teach when you have a sponsor, a provider, sugar daddy, or if you're also working at night as a stripper or any type of like dark feminine art. A lot of times women do not have any goals, so this is how they get lost into this lifestyle, because they just start to spend a lot of money on themselves or designer stuff, and even if they do that for like 5-10 years and they make a lot of money, they always end up back in poverty after that, or having to work a 9-to-5, or being in a toxic, abusive relationship because they're codependent financially on someone. So this is something that's very common, because women get too much into their dark feminine energy and they don't have the Saturnian root and the goals, right? You need to have goals. Like, even if you're like, okay, let me just get back into stripping or whatever, like masseuse or any type of like dark feminine art. First of all, you don't tell anybody. Like, that's your stuff, your money. And of course, like, you do it up until the point, you meet a provider that gives you all the money to pay all your bills and your stuff. Or you can just have multiple providers and also keep stripping and do whatever the F you want, because you don't have a marriage contract. So you're not bounded to anybody, basically. But yeah, right before getting into that lifestyle, of course, you want to try to stay as sober as possible, because the Saturn energy loves that, you have clarity in your mind, right? You don't have any substances that can cloud your judgment. So you want to stay sober, like I said, as much as possible. Like, maybe have like a glass of wine, you know what I mean? But don't get into like any addiction, right? And have some goals. Be like, okay, so I'm gonna, I don't know, like strip for like 6 months or a year, and I'm gonna put money aside for a house, or I'm gonna start my online business, or I'm gonna put that money into, losing weight, looking better, feeling better, buying organic groceries, like whatever goals. But it has to be clear from the get-go. Like, you can't just be like, let me get into this lifestyle and just lose yourself, because it's very easy to lose yourself while you're in it. And it's the same thing with a sugar daddy. Like, you want to make sure you don't want to tell them your end goals. Of course, like I said, you always want to move in silence, but you can always tell them that you want to improve yourself and you want to get back to school, and they will happily provide and pay for all the expenses. So, the second way to work with Saturn is mindfulness and meditation. So, of course, by being self aware, and we're not robots here, like nobody's perfect. Like, we all get our moments of being, a bit more emotional, especially as women, or if we have any sort of like hormonal imbalances or her period, whatever, which is fine. But this is why, learning how to master emotions, emotional regulation is a must for us first. And of course, when we have children, we're teaching them how to emotionally regulate by being a model of that because we cannot teach how to regulate our nervous system just by talking. We have to model that behavior, and this is how children co-regulate their nervous system with us, basically. I'm sorry. Okay, actually, let me just grab a sip of water very quickly. When I'm talking too much, my throat gets kind of dry. So another way to work with Saturn is, of course, to work with a mentor or any sort of like mentorship. Doesn't have to be like one-on-one, like whatever. It can also be, listening to like YouTube videos and podcasts, just like you're doing right now. So that's also a form of mentorship, listening to people who really embody those qualities of wisdom and experience, that have been through what you're going through, or they've been at the same level of consciousness, and then they had to like go through that experience. But you basically want to listen to people who have what you want. This is like the end goal of this. Like, don't listen to people who don't have what you want. Like, of course, if someone has a lifestyle that you don't agree with, or they have a yearly salary that you just don't resonate, like, of course you don't want to be rude and be like, hey, shut up. Like, but you can just be like, you can smile and just agree and do whatever the F you want anyway, like at the end of the day. But, but please don't listen to people who don't have the lifestyle that you want. Another way as well, which is the most important lesson I think that Saturn really teaches us, is goal setting. So this is, like I said, when you want to start any type of, venture, you really want to break down the long-term goals into manageable short-term objectives with clear deadlines, right? And like I said, this is also something you can do with a sugar daddy, because, and of course you never tell him, but you need to have something in mind, like, okay, by the 6 month timeline, whatever, these are all the things that I need to have. And if you don't have these things, then you place a boundary and you basically leave. And this is also the reason why you need to have multiple ones, because then, of course, if one doesn't give you something, then you have the others. Or what the smartest thing you can do actually is to have, for example, 5 men buy you the same thing, and then you return like four of them, basically. So yeah, this is also another way you can put money aside. Another way to work with Saturn, which is the basis as well, is self-discipline, right? A lot of women get into the sugaring industry, right? And they don't have any boundaries, any self-discipline. They get physically intimate with men because they think that they're going to get some sort of gift, or they might think, oh, because I got a gift, I need to give him something, like all these like low self-esteem programming has to be removed in order to be successful. Because you really want to make sure that you're building something, right? You're building a lifestyle that's really aligned with your heart, with who you are, with your goals. If one of your goals is to be free, right? You want freedom. You just want to be able to wake up every single day, do whatever you want, have, as a mother, like you might want to have like a nanny, a chef, a private driver, just to like help you out. Like, they're not raising your kids, but they're just like helping you out, while your husband is working, or maybe you're single, so you need even more help. so you can have time to just relax sometimes, go to the spa, you know, take care of yourself. So this always stems from self-discipline, right? So like I said, when you get into the dark feminine arts, you need to have specific goals, you need to have discipline. You don't get intimate with anyone. Like, why would you even do that? You know, because if you give in, if you know, get intimate, they don't have anything to chase anymore, so they don't feel the need to give you money anymore. Like, that's just the basic. And the reason why I talk a lot about, you know, providers, sugar daddies, sponsors, however you want to call them, or, you know, starting a business as well, which is all the same category. This is how you build yourself in life. You need to work with the root, with Saturn first. You know, a lot of times people get into like, oh, let me do my life mission, let me think about my life mission, let me do my art. Like, even as a musician or a singer, you cannot start your career if you're broke. You need to have, you know, and this is why people, you don't need it anymore, but like a private label company, right? What they do to you, basically, it's a sponsor. They give you money like in advance. Basically, it's like a loan that you pay back within the next years of like making record sales. But at least they can invest in you, you know, for your music videos. Like, it takes a lot of money to start like a singing career. Like, there's like a bunch of people you need to hire to create a music clip, or just to record an album, you know. Like, that's just like one specific example. But it's the same principle with anything. Like, even when I wanted to, you know, create the Hathor Mystery School, like, you know, I'm not from wealth. I'm not a trust fund baby. You know, I wasn't born into this. So I had to work with Saturn first. I had to work with building the root. And of course, you know, some people might consider it taboo that, you know, I talk about sugar daddies and stuff, but that's just the reality. It has been around for like the beginning of times. I'm just like speaking out about this because a lot of women need to know like what's actually going on behind the scenes. Even on Instagram, like a lot of the Instagram models that we see are like professional sugar babies, especially if they're traveling all year long. How do you think they're funding all of this? You know, and a few of them, some of them are from very wealthy family and they have a trust fund, and that's how they're financing all the trips and the clothing and the makeup. Because like, it takes a lot of money to be like an Instagram influencer, like a YouTuber, like, especially if you want to be consistent and post like new content every week or every day. You can't just show the same products and same clothing like over and over. Like, think about it. Like, try to add up all the numbers. Like, it's a lot of money. Sometimes people have like a husband that's very well off or whatever. But whatever route, because there's like a lot of different routes to go with that, just pick and choose the one that feels aligned with you. You know, if you're like, no, I don't want to strip, like I don't want to do that, then don't do it, you know. But you can be like a sugar baby. You there's a lot of things, like some women becomes, you know, masseuse. Like, obviously depends on like the rules and regulations of your own country. Some countries, you know, it's illegal. Some of them it's okay. So yeah, you just really want to focus on that. And if you're like really starting from scratch, then you want to start online, because at least you don't have to like go out at first. Because of course, you know, hanging out in places that are, you know, considered upscale or like fancy dining, like of course it's going to require like a minimum of investment, right? Because you can just go there with like $20. Of course you can start small and go for like lunch and, you know, grab yourself like a main dish with like a coffee or something. Like, you don't have to like buy yourself champagne like on a weekday, like at lunch. But yeah, you can start small and just go for like, you know, for tea, for example, or, you know, it's just, you don't have to spend that much, but still, you still need to have the initial investment, and you can fund that with dark feminine arts. And this is also why when you look at sigils, the sigil of Lilith is actually, when you look at it, it's also the sigil of Saturn. It's within it, right? Which means that Lilith rules over Saturn, which is why when you get into any form of dark feminine arts, that can also be like a faceless OF account, you know, doesn't have to be PORN, can just be like sexy, sensual, doesn't have to be like, you know, I don't actually like when women do like this like hardcore PORN, especially if they're putting their face in it, because it has like long-term effects and you might not be able to attract the kind of men that you truly want to build a family with, you know, with that content out. But obviously if you hide your face, that's a bit different, obviously, because no one knows who it is, right? But yeah, when you use also this dark feminine energy to build wealth, it's actually easier, it's faster, and yeah, it helps you basically to rule this Saturnian level of your life as well. And of course, then once you get your business started, or you get married, or you have like 7 providers, like obviously you don't have to do those dark feminine arts. You can still do them like if you want to, or you know, in the comfort of your home or whatever, but you don't have to do them. And then you can move on to like, you know, having your own business, or and yeah, like having like a portfolio basically of like multiple streams of income. So yeah, that was like a long explanation. I just wanted to like make it very specific. So self-discipline is also anything that's related to like doing regular exercise, you know, consistent study, skill development as well. Having a routine, like even when we start small or with nothing, you know, when like if a woman has like a lot of weight that she wants to lose, right? Because it's very heavy, it's draining her. She doesn't attract the man that she wants to because of that. So starting off with like walking every single day, or you know, yeah, having like a routine like that. And then of course, the more you walk, the more your body is going to get stronger, and then you can start to run, right? Or you can do Pilates at home now with like YouTube. Like it's so easy to get in shape, but you have to do it in a way that's not too extreme, right? Because if you start hard, like it might not be sustainable. So it's easier to just take small steps every single day to upgrade yourself. But having this routine, this wellness routine, you know, at first, if you can, you know, invest in too many supplements. You want to start with some basics like rhodiola, ashwagandha. Like there's a few of them that you have to try for yourself to see if it helps you lose some stubborn fat. But yeah, like drinking a lot of water, you know, practicing just feeling good, getting into some sort of creativity. That's a little bit more Venusian, but still like having a routine. The routine aspect of it that's very Saturnian. So the good thing about Saturn is that once you get into the momentum of having this routine of, you know, reading, learning, exercising, or whatever feels aligned to you, that feels good to you, this is how you're building resilience, you're building wisdom, and you're creating lasting achievements. That's what Saturn is all about. It's about sustainability, long term. It's almost like, you know, this like older type of like figure, like I would say it's like an older woman that really wants you to succeed. Like she really wants you to be the best version of you, the version that you were born to be. But she's also not going to sugarcoat anything. Like she's going to tell you how it is, but she deeply loves you, and she never shames you, she never belittles you, she's not condescending. That's not that type of energy. It's like this older woman, this older grandma that really loves you, but also she's like, okay, but get your shit together like right now, all right? You're better than this, okay? But yeah, this is why it's a great reminder that, you know, life is a journey that can be challenging quite a few times, but the rewards are just very profound and enduring, you know, and it's worth it in the end. So that's it for today's episode. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you tomorrow.